So in this video, I want to look at a Hulu original TV series, Shogun, which is an adaptation of the book Shogun. Going to be doing a quick review of the first 3 episodes. I'm just going to go run through some quick stuff like visuals, characters, dialogue, and just give sort of my rating of the show. Up front, I'm so far I'm enjoying it pretty well. It's captivating. I would say is probably its best quality. Is that it's captivating. The trailers kind of show large scale warfare, or at least shots leading up to large scale warfare with infantry and weapons and ships and things like that. So far in the first 3 episodes, it's just been built. It seems like it's building up to that. If you're not familiar, the show follows a kind of a feudal lord who is one of 5 people in charge of kind of like running Japan, while essentially the king who's young comes of age, and one of them, a man named Yoshi Toranaga, is at odds with the others. The first 3 episodes open with him kind of being held prisoner in the city, and you're gonna have to forgive me, I'm not gonna be able to remember the names of everything up front, but he's being held captive as they're talking through the different political issues. There's assassinations and things happening. Meanwhile, the ship's not British, but the character John Blackthorne, who is the pilot of the ship, the helmsman of the ship, like the navigator, is British, and their ship crashes on Japan. He has kind of motives. The Western world has motives for Japan already. Obviously, the Portuguese are there, the Jesuit priests and the Catholic Church is there. And that's kind of how the conflict gets started. Toranaga hears about this guy in one of his kind of like vassal villages and wants him in the city to explain to him about, what's going on with this conflict between the Western world, obviously the Protestants and the Catholics, what's going on with the Jesuits. I would say probably the weakest part of this show, just up front here, is visual effects. Not the visuals themselves. I think the visuals are very strong, but the visual effects at times are a little bit distracting. If any of you have seen Rebel Moon, Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon, you're familiar kind of with that blurring effect, that sort of fisheye blurring effect of the background. In the first episode, the cinematography uses a similar effect. It's not nearly as bad, but a similar effect as that in some shots, which is bizarre to me because, you can tell that a lot of the show is shot either on location or in really great sets. And so it kind of confused me as to why they would go with this decision to use sort of a blurring fisheye that I would say distracts the viewer from the primary focus. The primary focus is usually a person. They're very clear, but the background, which is often, a beautiful landscape or bunch of, extras in the background going about their business, is all kind of blurry. And I was just a little bit annoyed that these intense sets and on-location filming, they went with a visual style, at least primarily in the first episode, not being able to see those things. Another issue, I think, is there seems to be a fog effect on a lot of shots. And now I understand the location of where things have been has mostly been coastline, and I understand a lot of the coastline is foggy, so you need that. It's clear to me that it's an effect, almost like a LUT over a lens. It's not as much distracting. It's more, I can tell it's an effect, but I understand the purpose of that effect. And then again, there's a couple shots in the second and third episode, or maybe it's the first and third episode, where they're on ships and it's very foggy, and there is almost like a vignette around the edge of the screen. So it'll be darker in the corners or really bright in the corners, in addition also to that fog effect. That's mostly the effects issues that I have with the show. So far, nothing else has really stood out. Just a few, I think, strange decisions. And it's not all the time. These vignettes or these like weird fisheye effects. It's not all the time. It's sometimes in one shot, and then you'll have a very, very similar shot, and it's not in that shot, which I don't understand the decision making there. But moving on, away from the visual effects, dialogue and acting, I think, has been really strong so far. There weren't any moments that seemed out of place. It seems like the directors and actors and everybody involved is taking this seriously, as you should with, a historical drama fiction kind of thing like this. Everybody, all of the actors, I think, are doing really great. I think the actor that plays Toranaga, Hiroyuki Sanada, who's been in a ton of stuff, is incredible. And it's kind of nice. I recall watching this or talking about it with my brother, and he said it is cool to see him sort of playing a similar character to Ken Watanabe's character in The Last Samurai. They play this leader kind of warlord differently, but it's very good acting from him. Also, and I think probably the standout performance, watching the trailers, I didn't think that this would be the case, but the guy who plays John Blackthorne, Cosmo Jarvis, it says is his name here. Really, really good. He's putting on a little bit more of a heavy, almost more high society British accent, but the deep kind of rich timbre of his voice makes it very unique. His reactions, his interactions with the other characters has been really strong and wasn't something I expected from after seeing the trailers. The trailers didn't feature him quite as much as you would think, considering that he's one of the primary protagonists of the show. Lots of other standouts in the show. The guy who plays Ishido, one of the other 5 kind of leaders. I'm going to butcher this name. Takehiro Hira is perhaps how you pronounce that. He's really great. So a lot of these guys are serious leaders, and a lot of their interactions are very serious, stone-faced kind of deliveries of their lines. But these guys, they deliver their lines and in their scenes with, so it's more than just like a stony delivery of a line. You can clearly see that they are in character. They know what they're saying. And so when they're surprised, or when there's something strange that happens, or unexpected, or exactly as they expected, or even something amusing, when something amusing happens and these very serious lords are kind of caught off guard, their acting is just, it's top notch, especially in those situations. And then real quick, the woman who plays Mariko, really good. I don't know much about the character from the book, but so far she seems to have kind of an intriguing, mysterious past. So the pacing of the show, I think, has been very good, considering there hasn't been a ton of what you might call action. There's been only a few scenes of maybe combat. There's been a couple assassination scenes, and then at the end of the 3rd episode, a pretty big scene with ships, which gets tense and thrilling, but isn't exactly like the warfare action yet. But I'm assuming that the show is going to have more of that as things goes on. So I've been very happy with the pacing of the show. And like I said, it seems like they're doing exactly what you want them to do with this kind of intellectual property. They're being kind of true to who the characters are. I know that they are easing up a little bit on some of the brutalism of the culture that's in the book, but the characters themselves are true to who they are in the book. The visuals, while I do have some complaints, are very good and mostly not distracting. And then just the actors seem to be doing an incredible job with their characters. But that's just the first 3 episodes. As time goes on, we will see how the show continues to do. I know that it had so far like the biggest opening of a show. We'll see how things progress. Like I said, this is just the first 3 episodes. Tell me what you guys think. Are you liking it? Are you disliking it? Are there inaccuracies that I've missed? Like I said, I haven't read the book, even though, I mean, I have it here, but I just haven't sat down and given it a read. Tell me down in the comments. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.